I get a lot of questions about the process of buying a home in Palm Springs. People contact me from all over California, the US, Canada, overseas, and they want to know, how does it work? And they specifically want to know what happens between the time when they've identified the property they want to buy and they actually get the keys. Reasonable enough, right? And if you understand that process, you're going to probably save yourself a lot of aggravation. You may wind up with much better terms, possibly a better price, and it just really can't hurt. So in this video, I'm going to give you a step-by-step roadmap of the process of buying a home in Palm Springs. And I'm going to try to stay away from using any of the typical real estate agent jargon. I'm going to try to keep things in regular, plain English that's easy to understand. When I have to use specific real estate related terms to make a point, I'll try to keep them as regular language as I can. Let me tell you a little bit about what we're going to be covering, and then I'm going to put the chapters in the description. So if there's something that you're more interested in than others, you can jump to that topic in the timeline. We're going to be talking about making an offer. We're going to be talking about what happens when you get a counteroffer and various ways to handle that, including the ever popular escalation clause. I'm going to be talking about disclosures, inspections, reports, escrow, title reports, making a request for repairs, and probably some other things will pop into my head because I'm pretty unscripted and I speak about these things all the time. So you can wake me up in the middle of the night and I can kind of probably do this video, but today I'm walking around here in Twin Palms Estates in South Palm Springs, and we'll see how far I get on this walk, and maybe I'll wind up somewhere else. So usually I only share this step-by-step roadmap with my buyer clients, but I decided to make it available to everyone on YouTube. Number one, be honest, I hope you're gonna watch this and say, wow, this guy knows a lot about real estate. If we want to buy a home, we're gonna contact him. Or maybe if not, you have another agent, but at least it helps you avoid some problems. If we haven't met before, either here on YouTube or in person, a lot of you have met me in person. My name's Ellis Posner. I'm a real estate broker in Palm Springs. I've been selling real estate in Southern California for literally decades. I've been involved in thousands of real estate negotiations. And if you're thinking of buying a home in Palm Springs or just have Palm Springs real estate related questions, feel free to reach out. My contact info is all over the channel. I'll drop something in the description in the comments, and I will get back to you. Really, honestly. I know a lot of agents don't return calls, but that's just not me. If you're new to this channel and you want to learn more about Palm Springs, I just don't post about real estate. I have other interesting Palm Springs topics, things to do, places to go, things to see. Those are maybe geared more towards the snowbirds and the tourists or people coming here for a vacation. But hit that subscribe button and let's get started. But before we do, I want to mention for all those listening to this on a podcast and not actually watching the video on YouTube, that real estate practice and laws change over time. This information is accurate at the time I did this video, but it's always best to check about your specific situation with the appropriate professionals. Okay, you found the property you want. We're going to jump right to submitting an offer, making an offer, writing an offer. Different agents use different jargon for this one. And I am skipping the step about the buyer-broker agreement. Now, that is really important. In fact, it's so important that I think it's the single biggest mistake, not understanding how that works, that home buyers, not only in Palm Springs, but all over California are making right now. And so I'm going to speak about that at the very end of this video. So in terms of making an offer, basically your agent is going to be filling out some paperwork that we use extensively for almost 80% of these kind of residential sales. And they're going to be filling in your price and your terms. Now, everyone gets the thing about price, but terms are really, really important. I'm going to be discussing that, so bear with me here. It's going to identify the property, who you are, how long of an escrow period, whether you're financing it, and it's going to have a section for the allocation of costs. So as I said, understanding what is in this initial offer, how it's filled out, how to best protect yourself is key, and it's crucial. So a couple of things to really pay attention to. And in other videos, I actually cover the paperwork where we have it up on the screen and I'm discussing it. But now we're just talking about conceptually the step-by-step roadmap. And just remember, like with any map, a couple of different ways can lead you to the same destination, i.e. getting your keys and being happy with your purchase. So what you want to watch for, I'm going to give you some high-level points here, is number one, your contingency periods. So standard purchase contracts, you're going to have a loan and appraisal contingency if you're getting a loan. Some people paying cash might want an appraisal contingency, but most don't, and that really dilutes the benefit of being a cash buyer somewhat. And you're going to want to make sure that also there's an insurance contingency. Insurance has become quite a challenge in California, so now it's its own kind of contingency. And of course, what people generically call the inspection, but that's really the buyer investigation about everything that has to do with the property. You also going to want to pay attention to the allocation of costs. Who pays for what? So on allocations of cost, you're going to pay your own escrow fees. And if you're getting a loan, you're going to pay any of your lender fees. And you want to make sure if you're buying a condo or anything in an HOA that the seller pays any of those transfer fees or special fees, or it's all kind of different things that can get jammed in there. And here's one where Palm Springs, this is specific to Palm Springs, if you're buying a property on leased land, you want to make sure if there's any fees associated to the transfer of that lease that the seller pays for it. And you might even want to see if you can get the seller to pay an expedite fee for getting that paperwork through the Bureau of Indian Affairs any quicker. So a lot of things have to do with allocation of cost. You're going to pay for your own inspections. If you're getting your appraisal, you're going to pay for that. But everything else, you want to make sure all and every costs are jammed onto the seller. And if I'm your agent, I'm going to get that seller to pay for that. Other things to watch in the allocation of cost, like I said, it should have that each party pays their own escrow fees. That's standard. And then there's the choice of the escrow and title company. Now, in Southern California for quite a while, as long as I can remember, most of the time, the seller or the seller's agent will choose that escrow and title company. And that's okay, because the seller wants to get their money. So, hopefully they're not going to pick we are the cheapest on the internet escrow company.com, because there's what you have to watch out for escrow companies is that they have secure systems, because your money, either for the full purchase or the down payment, is going through the escrow company. A little bit of other jargon and terminology. In Southern California and in Palm Springs, we have independent escrow companies. We have escrow companies that are broker-owned. I'm a broker, but I don't own any escrow company. Lucrative business. Maybe I should try that instead of YouTube videos. Only kidding. I love doing this. And then you have sometimes title companies do escrow. So as I said, it's been tradition for quite a while in Southern California that the seller chooses those, or the seller's agent. Now, what I do if I see that the seller, I always call the seller's agent before I write an offer, and I ask who their title and escrow is. And if it's some title company I'm not familiar with or have concerns, I will research them and I'll just tell the listing agent, hey, pick a different uh, uh, escrow company. Title companies are mostly all underwritten by the same parties, so that's different. All right. Other things to watch for in that initial offer is what is your escrow period going to be? Now, anything with an HOA could get extended because you got to get all the documents and paperwork from the management company, and anything that has to go through the Bureau of Indian Affairs can be delayed, and that's why I always try to get the seller to pay an expedite fee for that. So now let's talk about you've submitted an offer and the seller makes a counteroffer. Well, that might be on price, it might be on terms, or it might be on both. And you're going to see two different kinds of counteroffers. One is where they're only countering one party, or one where they have multiple offers and they're countering multiple parties. So one form is called an SCO, seller counteroffer. And basically, if you agree to the price and terms on that seller counteroffer, you're opening escrow. You're getting that property, unless something comes up in the inspections and disclosures. And then the other thing is a seller multiple counteroffer. And on that, they have multiple offers on the property. And is that a thing? Is that still happening in 2025 when I'm doing this video? Yes, it is. So there's different ways you handle those. Sometimes on a seller multiple counteroffer, you'll see they say, give me your best and final price. And, everyone hates that because the buyers feel like they're negotiating against themselves. There's ways to work with that. Like often I'll do what's called an escalation clause. So on an escalation clause, you'll say that you'll pay X amount more than the next highest bidder. And you, of course, have to cap that. Otherwise, if two people do it, I guess the price becomes infinity, and that's probably a little bit too high. So you have the counter offer, either multiple counter offers. People ask me, how many rounds can that go? Well, there's no specific, you can, kind of, you can't do more than X, but usually one round, maybe two at the most, for most properties. And when I'm preparing an offer for my buyer clients, what I like to do is I like to give the seller something they can just sign as it is. Now, there are times, many times, when we might start out at a lower price. So if I'm going to start out at a lower price, sometimes they're even called lowball offers. If we're going to start lower, then at least I try to have all the other terms. Like if it's just the price we're negotiating, then that's pretty good. Now, one variation of this negotiating process, which is uh, specific, I won't say 100% specific, but happens often in Palm Springs and maybe doesn't happen elsewhere, is that the seller will want to be selling the property with all the furniture. People ask me, well, what's the value of the furniture? And if you're getting a loan, you better put the furniture's included at no value. But, for a lot of sellers, just really getting the furniture out of the house is so much of a hassle, they just rather give it to you. And you see that a lot in properties that were being used for short-term rentals. You see that a lot in properties that were being used by snowbirds or people just coming for vacation. And, I know a lot of people that even if they have their own furniture that they're going to be bringing, they'll say, okay, let me, take the seller's furniture. We'll make it easier. Let's get this deal done. So if you do want the seller's furniture, make sure it's included in the purchase offer. If you don't, could become an impediment to getting the deal done. And a lot of my buyer clients, even if they have their own furniture, they will take the seller's furniture, donate what they don't want, sell on Facebook Marketplace, or there's a lot of consignment places, resale places around Palm Springs. So sometimes just kind of a cost of doing business that you've got to get that seller's furniture. Now, another thing that might be included is the refrigerator and the washer dryer. If the refrigerator is built in, that's going to be included. And actually, anything that is built in and attached to the house, with a few exceptions, will be included. Um, the washer dryer, you can, if there's one there, you could say you'd like the seller to leave it, or you can say you don't want it. So these are all important things in the terms. Now you've made your offer. You've negotiated any counter offers, and the offer's accepted. Congratulations. And you're going to open escrow, or more specifically, the listing agent, the agent for the seller will be opening escrow. And the escrow company will be contacting you for the initial deposit, what we also call the earnest money deposit. And that is due within 3 business days of when the offer is accepted. It's one of the few times we're counting business days. Other times in real estate, we're just counting days, like every day. Saturday, Sunday, Monday, holidays, with the exception that if the day to perform any specific action falls on a weekend or holiday, that does get deferred to the next business day. Hey, I work 7 days a week, so we count every day. And that earnest money, or the initial deposit, also referred to as the EMD, that's going to be wired to escrow within 3 business days, as I said. In the old days, people used to give a check. These days, almost all the time, it's wired. And you're going to see a document in the disclosures that you get when you sign your offer that says wire fraud advisory, or WFA, not WTF. And the wire fraud advisory will tell you to verify where you're wiring money to. And wire fraud, while it's really a thing, I know kind of sounds a little bit paranoid, it's very easy to protect yourself by actually calling and speaking to the escrow company to confirm those wiring instructions, even if they sent it to you on the most secure encrypted links. So just have to call the escrow company, have them read to you, not the other way around, what those wiring instructions are. And I say, have them read it to you, because if you read it to them, you don't know they're paying attention. I once, with my kind of amazing ability to open mouth and insert foot, once I said to someone, I don't know, they could be on TikTok on their phone. And the buyer said to me, I work for TikTok. It's like, oh, whoops. I said, of course I knew that. But anyway, when you're checking wiring instructions with escrow, and there's 2 times you're going to be wiring. Once is on that initial deposit, and then the second time is before you close escrow, the balance of whatever you're going to be paying, or the balance of whatever you're going to be paying minus the financing. And you need to call both times. They expect the call. Just really simple. Hi, this is Ellis. Could you just want to verify the wiring instruction? Can you just read that? Read those to me. And again, just check that. Now, about wiring money to escrow companies, they do not take ACH transfers of Zelle or PayPal or Venmo. Has to be a federal wire. Some people have their banking accounts set up so that they can initiate those. Others have to go into the bank. I know sometimes people are wiring money from brokerage accounts, and it's a whole other thing. Beyond the scope of what I'm talking about here, I'm just trying to give you the roadmap. Here's what happens. And I hope you're enjoying that roadmap. And if you are, hit that subscribe button. Love subscribers. I love you for watching my video, but I love you even more when you subscribe. And the most, of course, when you call me so I can be your agent when you buy a home in Palm Springs. So now you have your money wired to escrow, and you're going to do your inspections. And incidentally, even if you're buying new construction, you want to get that home inspection, because new construction, unfortunately, has just as many problems as a lot of resale houses. And you do have the benefit of there's a builder's warranty in California, so that does help you with new construction. So you're going to do your home inspection, and the home inspector is not coming there to tell you everything's perfect and great. They're giving you like a honey to-do list. Here's the things. And sometimes from that initial inspection, we will bring in other The initial inspector is just a generalist, and then we'll bring in other specialists. And so they may say, you need to check the roof, or you need to check further on the electrical or plumbing or whatever comes up. All kind of things come up, mold. A lot of people off the bat will get a termite inspection, which I also highly recommend. And if you're buying older homes, like these beautiful homes here in Twin Palms Estates in South Palm Springs, if you're buying an older home, you might want to get a sewer line inspection as well, because if your toilets back up, you're not going to be too happy, and you want to know what you're getting into with that. Now, once all these inspections are done, you can make what's called a request for repair. And the seller can either agree to repair those items, or they can give you a credit or lower the price based on what we come up with. And let me say this about the request for repair. Never in the history of real estate has a seller gotten a request for repair, no matter how reasonable, that they jump up and down and say, wow, that's really great. I'm so glad you're asking me to fix all these things that I never fixed or took care of when I was living in the house. And now that I'm going to sell it, you want me to go fix all these things. So, and I love sellers. I love you sellers, but I get it. You want to sell as is. And incidentally, the California purchase offer contract is written to be an as-is sale, where is and as is, but you also do have the right to ask for those repairs to be made. So let's talk about what's on that request for repair and what you can ask for. You can ask for anything, but you know what you're likely to get, what you're not going to get. I try to keep it to health and safety issues and things that you would expect to be working that may not be working. It's not a request to improve the property. It's not a request to make the property brand new. It's a request for repairs. Now, I have made some pretty, I would say outrageous, to be honest, requests for repairs over the years for my buyers. And, you know, sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. Just depends on how motivated the seller may or may not be. So let me give you a couple of examples. You know, on, let's say, houses in Palm Springs have air conditioning. I know you're very surprised to hear that. I think almost all of them do. But you expect the air conditioner to be working. You expect during the winter, if you want to put the furnace on, that you're going to get heat. And if those things aren't working, totally on the table to ask the seller to address those things and take care of them. Now, where buyers and sellers get totally off track is a lot of home inspectors will come in and they're all in CYA mode. I get it. And they're going to say, well, you know, the furnace is working now, but it's at its end of life. Or the water heater is working, but it's at its end of life. Or same for the roof or any other thing. Well, all these things are what determine the value of the property. A property that was just totally had a down to the studs remodel by a flipper or otherwise and is being sold, well, you don't expect in that one to hear that the water heater is at the end of its life. But if it's a house that's been in someone's family for X amount of years and now they're selling it and, you know, they never did these kind of things, yeah, you may have some stuff at end of life. Again, each situation's different, and when I'm negotiating for you, I try to push it as much as I can in your favor. But again, you know, if there's scratches on the floor, you see that when you go to view the house. I mean, don't ask for a new floor, even though I've had people do that on my listings. No, we didn't agree. So that's the request for repair. The seller can respond to it by saying we'll do certain things, we won't do certain other things. They could accept to do what you asked for, or they could just not even respond at all. Now, where possible, you would always prefer getting a credit, a seller credit. I'll explain how that works in a minute, rather than having the seller do the repair. For one thing, most sellers, God bless them, are going to do any repair work as inexpensively as they can and the minimum they can do. And I understand that. And then there's some sellers who are kind of DIYers and like, okay, the electric panel has some issues. Well, they're going to try to fix the electric panel themselves, and you wind up with a fire. So where possible, you want a credit. Now, if you're getting a loan, the credits cannot exceed certain percentage amount. I'm not going to get into that here. If you have questions, call me. If you're paying cash, it doesn't matter. And sometimes we negotiate for either a lower price on credits, or just credits. The one place where I think it's okay to get the repairs done is, let's say it needs termite work. The termite companies, they're just going to do what they do, and if you get a licensed termite company to do whatever repairs are necessary, that's probably fine for the seller to pay for that. Now, how do these credits work? You're buying a place where the closing costs are, I'm going to just pick a random number. Don't expect your closing costs to be this high, $20,000, and you get a credit for $10,000, so that's $10,000 less you have to bring to escrow to close escrow. Presumably, you have that $10,000 now to do these repairs that need to be done. And I'll tell you this, a lot of my buyer clients become seller clients later on, so they call me 3, 5, 7 years later, and I go and I check out the house, and it's like, yeah, all that money they got the credits for, whoops, the repairs haven't been done. That's okay. You still got the money. If you're paying cash, then it just reduces the total amount, and if your credits exceed your closing costs, that's okay with cash. So that's because they'll just apply that to the balance of the purchase price. But again, you can negotiate to have repairs done, you can get a credit, or you could lower the price, or any combination thereof. And seller doesn't have to respond. As with the original offer and counter offers, as I mentioned, while there is a time frame we can put into when you want the response by, it can go a number of different rounds. It usually doesn't. Most of these things in negotiation, it's once, twice, back and forth, and either the parties agree and want to get the deal done, or they don't, and everyone moves on. And I'm okay either way. I don't want to get you into a bad deal. So in addition to your inspections, and incidentally, yes, I have various inspectors I can refer you to or recommend. And you can, of course, use any inspector you want, and expect, depending on the size of the house and other things that come up, you're going to be shelling out anywhere from $500 to $1,000 or more for inspections. If like you're buying a house, it's one of these places kind of going up into the mountains, like in the Mesa, or Little Tuscany, or Andreas Hills, you might want to get a geological report depending on, the lot, and if, you feel it's kind of on a slope there and you're concerned. But other than that, inspections are going to run probably between $500 and $1,000. We do have to disclose those reports to the seller, because if the deal doesn't go through, they do have to disclose those as well to the next buyer. And other things don't have to be disclosed, like appraisals, but inspections most certainly have to be disclosed to subsequent buyers. So it also gives you a little bit of, negotiating leverage, because if it's something that's going to come up from any buyer, what I always advise my seller clients is that, sorry, your AC isn't working. No one's going to buy a house with the AC not working. You're going to have to fix it no matter who it is. It has nothing to do with this buyer. And then I'll be the first, when I'm representing a seller, to call BS on. They're just asking for stuff that's an improvement, not a repair. Now, in addition to the inspections you're going to be doing, also you're going to get a number of disclosures from the seller, and you're going to get some reports prepared by third parties, particularly what we call the natural hazard disclosure or zone report. The seller disclosures, sometimes you find out things there that you aren't aware of. That's where they have to disclose if there's been leaks or, neighborhood problems or other things of that nature. But I tell people, I don't put too much emphasis on the seller disclosures. Yeah, we got to get them, review them, but most of them conveniently forget that the roof leaked last time there was a major rainfall, which doesn't happen too often here in the desert, but we do have it. Or they forget about that time the sewer backed up conveniently. I always advise the sellers I work with, disclose everything. It's a good way to protect yourself from litigation further down the road. So you're going to get those seller disclosures. And a lot of times, a lot of people ask me, oh, well, if I sign these disclosures, then I can't make a request for repair. No, one has nothing to do with the other. So when you're signing a lot of documents in the real estate transaction, it's acknowledging that you've been told something. It's not agreeing to it. However, there are times when you're specifically agreeing to something, like if someone says, okay, the price is going to be this, or close of escrow will be this time period. So that's disclosures and reports, and let's move on to the contingency periods. So you're always going to have that buyer investigation contingency, meaning it's not just the physical inspection of the property, it's everything that has to do with the property. And this comes into play like if you're buying a condo or another property in a homeowners association. Maybe you don't like something in their rules and regulations or CC&Rs, or if it's a condo, maybe it's like the association is way underfunded and you could be looking at getting a special assessment, more money out of pocket. There are many reasons. Now, this buyer investigation, and the other agents are not going to like me telling you this, the buyer investigation is the easiest way to cancel an escrow in good faith and get your earnest money deposit returned in full, or let me say returned in full, unless the escrow company is one of those that charges $250 or $400 just for doing stuff if the deal gets canceled, because a lot of deals do get canceled these days for a variety of reasons, often that have nothing to do with the property. So sellers like the inspection period to be as short as possible. Buyers like it to be as long as possible. The standard is 10 to 12 days. And yes, I know that many of you who are thinking of buying a home in Palm Springs are doing it while you might be in Seattle, Washington, or Chicago, or New York City. But yeah, it's worth jumping on the plane for the inspection, because it always just reads worse than it really is. It's like when you get those labs back from your doctor and you go, oh my God, I hope I have enough time to get my affairs in order, and the doctor tells you, oh no, that's just you have an ingrown toenail. So the inspectors, the way the reports read, and most inspectors, you can call them. If you're not there, you can call them and they'll go through it with you. And a lot of times when I'm doing an inspection, the buyer's out of town, it's like when the inspector gets done, we'll just FaceTime that. We'll FaceTime that buyer in, and the inspector will go through the same things with them. But you will get a written report with photos and be able to take it from there. Okay, so what else is going to happen during this transaction? Well, at some point, you're going to get what's called a preliminary title report. And that just says that a title company feels comfortable enough that they can give you title insurance, meaning that, after escrow closes, the long lost grandson of the seller can't come and say, oh no, that's really my house. They've given you clean title. The seller typically pays for the buyer's title insurance. If you're getting a loan, you will wind up paying for the lender title insurance. The buyer title insurance is typically more expensive. Title insurance is fairly well regulated, so you'll read things that say you can shop for it, but I've never seen the prices much different, and you want to make sure in title insurance as well as escrow you're dealing with reliable companies, of course. Now, two very important things to know, which are also very specific to Palm Springs. Number one, if you're buying a home that has a short-term rental permit, that rental permit will not transfer on sale. So if you're thinking of using your property for short-term rental, you need to check on the Palm Springs City website, and I can tell you how to get there, to see if you can even get a permit in that neighborhood. So beyond that, a lot of associations, both condos and single families, have their own limitations as well. So you might find that, let's say at Ascena, they only allow 30-day rentals as far as I know. Whereas at Miralon, where I live, you have to do 6 nights, 7 days, 6 nights. So let's say in my example about Miralon, yeah, you can get the short-term rental permit, but you may have other limitations placed by the HOA and the community. And there are a lot of places that only allow 30-day or longer for rentals. And in those cases, you know, you're renting your place to some snowbirds for 3 months. At least under the current rules, you do not need that short-term rental permit. That you can do just as any other kind of rental with the right paperwork. So the other thing specific to Palm Springs is all this leased land. And that does throw a wrinkle into the process, because you do have to get the sign off. And what you need to know is that, like, let's say you're buying a house, single family house on land you own, what we call fee simple, then that will get a grant deed, whereas the deed you get on leased land is a different deed. You still get a deed, it's recorded. I guess that's a good thing. Okay, so now you've done your inspection, you reviewed the seller's disclosures, you've read all the other reports. If you're getting a loan, you've gotten your loan approved by your lender. And we're getting time to close escrow. So what are you going to do? We're going to do what's called a final walkthrough or verification of property. And the purpose of the final walkthrough or verification of property is not to find new problems, but it's to make sure that the home is in substantially the same condition as when the offer was initially made. You know, the roof hasn't leaked, there's no major holes in the wall from when the sellers moved out. You know, there's not a pool leak. You don't see the level of the pool down 5 feet. And that's the verification of property, what we call the final walkthrough. If the property is being sold without any furniture, vacant, then yes, you want to make sure it's vacant and cleaned. And if it is being sold with the furniture, you want to make sure that that furniture is still there, of course. And then after the final walkthrough, you will wire the balance of your money to close escrow. And remember to do that same wire fraud kind of verification of calling the escrow company to make sure the wiring instructions are correct. And then what will happen is the escrow company will disperse the funds to the seller, to a lender, if they have a lender, you know, for their mortgage, and the deed will get recorded by the title company. I will get the call and I can give you the keys. Now, there's one twist to this. Some properties, and it's not as common in Palm Springs as other places, some properties, the seller will have what we call possession after the close of escrow, meaning that they may not move out for up to 29 days, which is called seller in possession, or they may have a lease back that's either paid for or non-paid for anywhere between 30 to 60 days. If you're getting a loan, you have to take possession in 59 days. And possession just means you have access. Doesn't mean you have to have moved in by then necessarily. Check with your lender if you're getting a loan. I'm going to get the keys. I'm going to call you and say, congratulations, closed escrow. You're a homeowner in Palm Springs now. And then I will meet you and give you the keys. And before the day of close of escrow, you should put whatever utilities need to be put in your name into your name. And that's about it for the process, except for one really important thing I left out. Remember at the beginning I said I'm going to tell you about the single biggest mistake most Palm Springs home buyers are making right now, and that one has to do with the buyer broker agreement. Well, let's get into that. So if you remember earlier when I was talking about making an offer, I said I was skipping one step, was going to come back to it. Well, I'm coming back to it now. And that step is the buyer broker agreement. Even if the person you are working with is not a broker and they're an agent, the brokerage they're working is considered that broker for terms of the transaction. And this is very misunderstood right now. The rules changed nationally over a year ago, depending on when you're watching this, and you now have to have a written agreement in place that does stipulate the compensation that your representation, meaning your agent and their broker, is going to get. In my case, I am the broker. And that form is misunderstood. You can use because you have to, in most instances, have an agreement in place even to see properties, which seems to me like to be a little bit of overkill. So if you go to an open house, then you can go in and just sign in and you're fine if you just sign the sign-in sheet. But a lot of agents will have you sign something specific to properties they're showing you, or an exclusive or a non-exclusive or something for a period of time. That does obligate you to pay that agent. If you buy something, it obligates you to pay more than the seller may be willing to pay. This whole thing with buyer's brokerage is so much of a hot topic still over a year after the rules changed that I'm going to do a whole separate video about that, including going over the form. But for now, what you need to know is the single biggest mistake that buyers make is that they sign an agreement with the listing agent. So here's what you need to know about representation. You don't want to be represented by the listing agent. While dual agency is considered legal in California, it's not in every state. That listing agent, really, their relationship is with the seller. And while many people can be ethical and try to kind of split things down the middle, you want someone that's going to advocate very strongly on your behalf. So only sign that buyer broker agreement with an agent you really want to work with. And real estate commissions are negotiable. They can be a percentage. Most agents these days are asking for 2.5%. They can be a flat rate. Hey, I'll pay you X amount to represent me. Or, any kind of whatever else you can think of. And the payment comes out of the proceeds from the seller at the close of escrow. It's not like you write a check to the agent representing you. So here's the good news about buyer representation. From what I'm hearing from the escrow companies, particularly those who are doing a fair amount of transactions, that at least for now in Palm Springs, 95% of the time, the sellers still are paying the buyer's agent's commission. So while you're going to sign an agreement that you're on the hook for it, you very well may not wind up paying it. Important thing to ask your agent. Let's say you sign and say, okay, I'm going to pay you, Mr. Agent, 2.5%. Well, what happened? And then the agent is going to ask the seller in that purchase offer paperwork we spoke about to make that payment to you. And, then you need to ask your agent when you enter into an agreement, well, what happens if the seller doesn't pay? Because technically, you're obligated to pay to buy that house. I may be okay with you, because it's going to work its way into the purchase price somewhere anyway. Or you just, may not want to pay it. So that's not an option once you sign the agreement. So ask your agent, what's plan B if the seller won't pay your commission? Now, last thing about those buyer-broker agreements. I've come up with a structure which I'm not going to discuss in detail here because, yes, I know a lot of other agents watch my Palm Springs YouTube channel. But if you're thinking of buying a home in Palm Springs, I have an option as to how I handle these real estate commissions that you may find really interesting if for no other reason than, of course, I'm going to give you great representation, but also it's a way I can help get some of your closing costs paid. And everyone likes closing costs paid, right? I mean, that could be worth $5,000, $10,000 or more, depending on the price of the home you're buying. So thanks so much for watching this. Hit that subscribe button. And if you have any questions about buying a home in Palm Springs or Palm Springs real estate in general, feel free to reach out. I will get back to you. I'm going to drop my contact info in the description and in the comments, and it's all over this channel. And namaste, Palm Springs.